Hello, Voyagers, and welcome to the Rebirth Room. For those of you who have the slightest idea who I am Mimi, and today I want to talk about something that is personal to me, and I wanted to really break down about this personal matter because it's important for our own healing to identify where a lot of our personalities come from. So today I really want to discuss the identities of the mother wound, because there comes a point in healing where you realize you weren't just carrying pain, you were carrying an identity. And this identity is what you created because as a child you had to learn how to survive. And recently I posted a TikTok about this, asking a simple question: who are you without the identity that you've been carrying beneath your mother wound? Because I didn't understand my own positioning with my own mother wound, because I didn't understand what it meant to be the strong one, to be the peacemaker, to be the fixer, the invisible child, the caretaker, the parentified child, the invisible one. All of these different personalities, what I adapted growing up, also shed light in my adult years, because these aren't just personality traits, they're survival strategies. And I grew up with a mother who in many ways was an emotionally abusive and empty herself, not because she didn't love me, but because she was carrying her own mother's wound. And generational wounds don't just disappear just because we become parents ourselves. Many of us, we were raised by people who were surviving other than healing, because they didn't understand the concept of what it meant to confront your wounds. And I became all of these different personalities because I had to regulate emotions that were never mine to regulate, to keep the peace. I had to heal someone whose healing was never my responsibility. But as I've gotten older, and with me becoming my own parent, I realized something beautiful. Breaking a generational cycle isn't just refusing to pass it down, it's also refusing to continuing it and to also carry it. Because I know, with me being a mom now, that I will never, ever allow my child to be my stabilizer. And a lot of parents don't realize how much of a stabilizer they are for their parents. So it ended and began with me, because my mother's healing, I learned that it's not my responsibility. I can love her. We can love our parents. I can understand her. We can have compassion for what she survived, but it's also no longer your emotional home. It's no longer your responsibility to be the one to break all of these generational curses. So let's talk about the identities, because many of us unwillingly created that to survive. So the first personality I want to talk about is the peacemaker. The peacemaker is someone who learned that conflict wasn't safe. So it shows up in your adult life as avoiding confrontation. So this is where you become the one who kept everyone happy. You avoid, again, the conversation. You apologize first. You sacrifice honesty for harmony, because peace requires abandoning yourself when you adapt this personality. And it's not peace, it's survival. The second one I want to break down is the strong one, because I've adapted this one too. This one has shaped me. The strong one is the one who learned that vulnerability isn't welcomed. This one is where you become hyper independent when you are an adult. It's where you rarely ask for help. You admire everyone's strength. You are the one that is exhausted. You're the one whose strength became protection. You're the one who, every time something goes wrong, you are the one who tries to be the middle ground for everything, because healing asks you to discover what's being supported is not weakness. Okay? So with us being the strong one, yeah, we got to unlearn that habit. And then the next one I want to talk about is the parentified child. Yeah, this one hit home. This is where the child became the adult way too early. because you had to comfort your mother. You had to protect your siblings. We had to manage bills. We had to be the oldest one. We had to be the therapist. We had to be the emotional spouse. We had to be the responsible one. We had to learn how to care for everyone and neglect ourselves, because anyone truly cared for you, you felt like it wasn't enough because of how you care, how you show up for people. So in your adult life, it looks like nobody actually calls and checks up on me. And if I don't call up and check on people, the conversation never exists, or the connection never exists. I know. That one was like, God damn, that's my whole personality. Who am I without these identities now? Because now it's like, well, hell. And, it's crazy because now you learn as you are like an adult, like different patterns. And now you understand that you have to separate your mom for who she is and look at the mother wound and your mom for what she is. So who she is your parent, right? Or who she is your mom. And when you look at her for what she is, which is a woman, then you will really start to decipher the amount of trauma that actually came with your own parents that was never healed. Because a lot of those, like my grandmother, there is no healing. There is no talking to her. However, there is a lot of generational trauma that connects everybody. So I wanted to make sure with me being a parent that it ends and begins with me, but also showing a mirror to my mom so she can understand where she is and how she moves and how she has become her mother, especially when it comes to being emotional, because of what she lacked in affectionate. She's not that, if that makes sense. And then once you start to really shed a mirror to your parents and really start expressing to them how it affects you as a person, it becomes easier for you to shift out of it when you become an adult. Because a lot of people don't even understand this next one, which is the caretaker. This is where you believe your values come only from giving. You're always pouring into others. You're always checking up on everybody else. But somewhere along the way, you forget to ask yourself, who's taking care of me? Who am I depending on? Who am I making sure is not dragging me down and limiting me from blossoming? Who are these people? Because love should never require self-abandonment. And when you begin to unravel this part of the mother wound and the identity, you begin to realize that you really neglected yourself because you wanted to keep the peace. So when you get older, being selfish is hard for you, because you have to learn that you're the one who is the bridge between the peace. You're the bridge when it comes to the family troubles. You're the bridge when it comes to the chaos. You're the bridge, and you also learn how to keep yourself quiet and stay out of the way. Which brings me to the next identity, the invisible child. The invisible child is the one that learned that staying quiet felt safer. This is where we stop asking for attention. We stop expressing our needs. We stop taking up space. This is where we become small, hoping that small meant safe, but not understanding that our voice deserves to exist. Because even if no one made room for it growing up, as you become an adult, you realize that your voice has power and strength connected to you. And when you begin to voice, this is how you made me feel, this is what happened, this is what it is moving forward, even if it falls on deaf ears, there's like a different type of confidence that comes with you once you learn how to express your needs. Because I had to learn that too growing up, because even now I never fully can express what I need, because I feel like I don't want to be, one, disappointed, and two, I feel like it was never going to be met. And come to find out, it actually helps when you know what it is you need and what you're looking for. Like, it helps. It's like a different type of exhale when you're able to really step outside of personalities, and when you start to adapt to, I love me. When you begin to heal your own wounds, you then realize that you are enough. When you no longer have to be the fixer. Because the fixer, this is really what topped the cake for me. This one hits home because, yes, I am the strong one. Yes, I was the parentified child. Yes, I was the peacemaker. Yes, I was the caretaker. But being the fixer is the one that carried the heaviest burden. For years, this is where I believed that love meant helping people heal. And I can just say the right thing. I can love you more than I love myself. I can understand you enough to where I can be relatable. And maybe I can finally fix the people who hurt me. Because I was always taught that healing, it taught me that something I wish I would have learned sooner, that you cannot heal someone who has not chosen healing. Which means it took me 10 years for me to finally put this mirror to my mother and force her to realize the personality of her patterns, and to realize that her patterns is literally the personality of her mother and her wound and her unresolved trauma. Because for years I never got both sides of the story. When it came down to my abandonment trauma, I only got one. And even when I healed my daddy wounds, it still came back as an unhealed mother wound and the identities that were my house. This is where my wounds became my assignment. This is where my mother's growth is my responsibility. And this is also what I've learned, that sometimes loving someone means allowing them to carry what belongs to them. This is where you learn that you have to, when you grow older, well, not grow older, but when you begin to heal spiritually, that you have to let go. You have to choose you in all aspects, and learn that when you separate yourself from your mother, that little voice that's in the back of your head is really your mother's echo telling you that you're not enough. And it's like you have to reprogram yourself to know and to trust your own voice. Because healing isn't about becoming someone new. It's about remembering who you were before survival handed you all of these roles. So I'm going to leave you with this question. Okay? Who are you outside the identity you created to survive your emotionally absent mother? Or maybe even a deeper question. Who are you without your mother's personality living through you? Who are you? How do you show up for yourself now? I want to hear which identity actually resonated with you, and sometimes it's just all of it, because I want to leave you with this. You are allowed to put the role down. You survived because you had to, and you get to heal because you choose that as well, because your children are not the generational curse or your trauma.